For centuries, the depths of the darkest seas have been shrouded in mystery and superstition. Some say it's a hostile place with some of the most dangerous creatures. Although I believe one of those creatures is pretty much the Dark Zone Pro Mark III. Although this one is one of those friendly creatures that wants to hug you, which is why it's so dangerous because its hugs can absolutely kill you. Not saying that the blaster will kill you, it's mainly a Nerf blaster after all, but it's also insanely powerful. This is a Bitl review of the Dart Zone Pro Mark III. Now, this is a revival of a series that I used to do pretty a long time ago. I wouldn't say a long time ago, a while back, I would say. And I wanted to do a review of this mainly because it's my favorite Nerf blaster and I wanted to talk about it. So, the Dart Zone Pro Mark III is what can be considered a pro hobbyist blaster. Now, what does that mean in the scheme of Nerf? Well, it means that the blasters can fire 110 feet per second or higher. And I'll just go ahead and say this. This does indeed fire 120 feet per second or higher. Now, I'm not really going to do any range testing. I'm not really going to do um, any other testing. Just mainly just talking about the blaster and going over an overview. It came out in 2021 as part of Dark Zone's Pro line, and this is Primetime's first Pro Series flywheeler. Um, it has the capability of supporting double A's or lipos, and in fact, I'll show you how that works. Just unscrew the back tray here, and then pull out these two batteries. Why am I pulling it out wrong? There we go. um, I conveniently removed the screw just to make this process a little bit easier, but there is normally a screw in there. Um, but you can pull it out and there is a little XT60 connector if the camera can focus. But yeah, you can easily change this out for a LiPo. In fact, you can grab a very high powered LiPo and run it off, run it in this thing. And the cool thing about this blaster is that it is hardwired to work with pretty much any LiPo you can put it in, making this a very welcome offering for someone who just is on a budget and just wants to play around with what the hobby has to offer. Because the hobby does offer a lot of cool stuff in retrospect. And I'm going to show off one of those cool things as soon as I get this closed. Um, so you might notice the little adapter here on on the magwell, and that's basically the adapter. Of course, you can throw in a normal sized magazine, and that will work perfectly fine. But what this is used for is you can easily put in um, half-dart magazines. Those will easily go in incredibly well. This is a worker Talon, and here is a Jet Blaster Katana mag. Both of them go in pretty well. Here is Nerf's Talon mag, the one that came with the Elite, no, not the Elite, the Strife X. And of course, I had to do some compromises to get this to work because Nerf, for some reason, decided to add a ridge here for whatever reason. So, as you can see, it goes in really, really well. It works fine. It's just now has a massive hole in the side. Here is an X-Shot magazine, which I might actually go ahead and talk about the blaster this comes with in the future because I really like it. Looks pretty nice on there. And here is a 3D printed Talon magazine, which also fits in there really nicely. Now, I know I said I wouldn't do any range testing, but I just want to show you how absolutely powerful this damn thing is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it sounds exactly like a lawnmower coming from this really crappy Bluetooth mic. But yeah, it is a very powerful blaster. One of the main features about it is that you can switch it to a full auto mode, which over here it sounds really punchy, but honestly, besides the punchiness of the full auto mech, it's also pretty slow. It's actually one of the biggest critiques about the Mark III. But if you just really need to lay down a bunch of darts at one time and don't mind the low fire rate, it's a pretty decent fire rate. Um, yeah. So let's go over some of the features of the blaster. So if you really wanted to, there is a Picatinny rail up top that houses a fake um, uh, green dot sight. The batteries are currently dead, but basically there is a little LED right here that will shine a green light, and that's basically the green dot feature. It's a toy red dot, but it's pretty decent for a toy red dot. On the back, there is an M4 sized tube here, which fits this small stock pretty decently well. And there is another Picatinny rail on the bottom in this massive rail that I've seen so many people completely um, bitch about. I absolutely like this rail, or this muzzle. I actually think it adds to the aesthetic of the blaster, but I understand why people don't like it. But I don't know, it's an aesthetic that you have to grow to like about this thing. The main issue with this thing is, like I said earlier, it does support Talon mags, but I had to do a modification to my magazine adapter. As you can see, there's a 3D printed insert piece that you put into the adapter, which out of Dart sells. I'm probably going to put the link in the doobly-doo. Um, but basically, there is a built-in little system for the pusher. So let me just go ahead and describe what the pusher system is. This thing uses a geared pusher, which allows it to do the semi-auto and full auto modes. And the issue with this pusher is it tends to have issues with Talon mags because it's the internal, the structure of it is angled, so it won't. And because of the spring in this mag being pretty strong, and also because of the prongs here, it will have issues shooting Talon mags. Now, fortunately, this has been modified so it works better with Talon mags now. But if you wanted to fire this full auto with Talon mags, you can't really do that, and sometimes it will still jam. It's a pretty big issue with the Mark III, which is why I'm glad newer blasters like the Omna Pro and the Strife X have kind of replaced this in terms of Talon mags. But if you can find this for a pretty cheap price, this was in the past this was like for 60 bucks on Amazon, and Dart Zone usually like sells this for roughly like $60 on their site as well. In fact, they have it on sale on there currently. This is a pretty awesome blaster. I would think it's worth $60. It's not worth the asking price though. The original price of this thing is $120. This is a toy. It's not like a Transformers masterpiece collector's item. It's a toy that makes you want to go outside and shoot things. And most of the time, unless you're really into the Nerf hobby, you can't really like argue for why this is $120. Now, The reason why this is $120, it kind of makes sense. Um, when you modify a Strife, it normally costs that much because you need to get the motors, you need to get the wire, you need to get soldering iron, you need to get the solder, you need to get lipos to power it, and all of that costs a lot of money. It's a lot of money to modify a Strife. It shouldn't take a lot of money to buy this though, and $120 is pretty much a Hasbro price. Um, but honestly, for $60, you can't really go wrong with this because it is a very, very, very high-powered blaster. Um, it shoots really well. It's decently accurate, even with the massive barrel here. And honestly, it's a nice thing. I actually really like it. Um, Would I recommend it? Yes. Of course, if you want to do any maintenance, you do need to carefully take this rubber piece off. I actually did not talk about the rubber parts. So one of the things about the Pro Blaster series is they tend to put more premium materials on here, premium in quotes. Um, and that goes for the back of the stock and this handle here, and it is very comfortable. It's a fantastic handle. The issue really is when you go in and take this apart and you have to peel the handle off. And I already kind of put some damage on here. I don't think it's visible on camera, but I've taken this thing apart multiple times. You just need to be very, very careful with opening up this thing. And also the back of this stock is a removable rubber piece. Um, and it's also a very good stock, I'm gonna add. The rubber piece actually adds a bit of friction when it's on your shoulder. And it's a really, really nice stock. If I had another Mark III, I would put this on my Nexus Pro, which I might also talk about. That's a long overdue review, and I'm probably going to talk about that soon. But that's my talk about the Dart Zone Nexus Pro. It's a fantastic blaster, um, and there's only really like one issue with it, and it's also pretty outdated because the Omni Pro and the Strife X have kind of overtaken it. But this is still a very nice option, especially if you can get it for about $60. It's a nice little thing. It's a really, I would say, compact blaster. It's a pretty good all-in-one option. Um, I think another critique is that the full auto is really, really slow, but honestly, you don't really need the full auto that fast. And if you really need full auto kits, you can just buy full better gears for this thing, but wouldn't work well in semi-auto mode, which is part of the reason why I don't insert them into this blaster. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my review of this thing. It's a fantastic little thing. It's a fantastic blaster, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I can do more Bitl Reviews episodes more often. Maybe with like a fancy intro or whatever. Oh, wait a second, this video probably has one because I probably added it in post. Anyways, that's about it. I'll see you at some point in the near future.